Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Chelsea are in crisis. It seems like we're doing a certain club in crisis every few months on this channel, but there can be no doubts that Chelsea are in crisis at this moment in time. Should Graham Potter be sacked? We'll be getting into that, but I want to talk about the bigger thing here. There is a bigger issue at Chelsea, and I firmly believe that the reason... And at the time, I really did sort of congratulate Graham Potter being given this opportunity at Chelsea, but I do actually think that there really is a situation at Chelsea where an inexperienced manager was brought in not just to reward him for what he did at Brighton, but also to put him in a situation where he can be manipulated. Put him in a position where you can buy the players you want to buy. Put him in a position where you've got a manager that isn't in total control. And the thing is, you do hear things out of Chelsea. We hear about Sterling in the summer. We've heard about other things. You do hear out of Chelsea that dressing room does like Graham Potter, but there is a big difference between liking a manager and respecting a manager. And if you look at what Manchester United have got with Ten Hag, he's subbing his right back off at half time in a cup final, and then the right back's hugging him at full time. There is respect, there is fear, there is leadership. I look at that at Chelsea, and if the manager is not in total control, and I think the players know that, Chelsea are a little bit rudderless. And is that the manager's fault? I do not believe for 1 minute that Tuchel wanted the £200 million worth of players he got before he was sacked. And I don't believe for 1 minute that Potter wanted all those players in January. I don't think Potter sat there and gave that list of players and neglected the striker position. I really just don't think that happened. I think at Chelsea there is a situation where they could end up having good ownership, and there is a lot of money to be spent by that ownership, but it's been a little bit chaotic, and it's done for Tuchel, and it could do for Potter as well. But look, I've got to say, I still stick by what I said. You're not going to get me here saying sack Graham Potter. I think it's the worst thing to do. I'm not a Chelsea fan. Chelsea fans will have their own ideas about this. But what I do look around is, I do always, before I do these videos, have a look around, get a general consensus of what's going on. And what I find really frustrating, and I don't know what anybody else thinks about this, is the people who are doing videos and all sorts saying sack Graham Potter. And I'm like, have you engaged your brain this morning, or have you just woken up and chosen stupidity? Because sack Graham Potter and do what? What is your plan, please? Can you let us know? Because it's the same thing with the West Ham fans that want to sack David Moyes. What is your plan if you sack David Moyes? There is no Sean Dyche out there. There is no relegation specialist to keep you up. West Ham's best opportunity is to stick with David Moyes until the summer and then discuss whether it's time to part ways, thank you very much, and rebuild in the summer. Because that's when managers want to start a rebuild. Managers don't want to get catapulted in to a toxic situation with other people, with other managers, players and problems, and that be the start of them. It's difficult to do. Klopp did it at Liverpool, Conte did it at Spurs. There will be other examples, but it's not easy to do it well, because a new manager that's a long-term manager wants to be given time, and a pre-season is one of the biggest pieces of time. Ten Hag, again, had it at Manchester United. So all these Chelsea fans who are saying sack Graham Potter, I think you're missing one or two key things here. One, you're a fool. I'm sorry, I don't like that word. You're an absolute fool if you're pinning this all on the manager. Of course your results are not good enough. They're not good enough. Everybody knows that. You are in a crisis. It says it right there. No one's trying to pretend that it looks rosy. But there's clearly issues in that team. I don't envy Potter at all. He's been given basically half a team in January. He's got half a team of new players in the summer, and then he's got a full squad. That squad cannot be happy. There's new players coming in people's positions who've been there for a while. There's new people coming in positions of people who were bought in the summer. How many centre-backs have they bought? It would take... I don't think Jurgen Klopp himself would find it easy to create harmony in a squad that's that chaotic, because the owner keeps buying players and thinks that's going to work. It doesn't work like that. And I think that Chelsea fans are still in that grateful stage for the ownership, but actually the ownership is a little bit too eager to please. They actually need to take a step back a bit and go, was it a good idea to spend £300 million worth of player £300 million in January? And I actually think if I was Graham Potter, I would have said, in all fairness, 1 or 2 in January is fine, because I'm still trying to find my feet with this team, and then in the summer we can get rid of a load of players and bring a load of players in. You're just creating more pressure on me by chucking a load of players at me in January. And what am I supposed to do with that? There is no pre-season. There is no time to start work. I've not had a pre-season yet. I still don't know what players I want to keep and I want to use, and you're chucking more players at me, and I've still got Tuchel players that you bought, and I'm trying to keep everybody happy, and it's really, really difficult because we're in a bad place at the moment. And you didn't get me the most important position of all as a striker. I look at Chelsea, and the one criticism I would have of Potter is I don't understand why he picks Loftus-Cheek because I don't rate him, and I don't understand why he puts Havertz up front every week because I think he's trash. I don't also rate Kepa either, but I don't know what the situation is with Mendy. But ultimately, if you've got a Danny Ings or an Erling Haaland or a Harry Kane, you're at different levels of strikers there, but you're going to get out of trouble because they're going to score you goals. At the moment, Chelsea lose a lot of games 1-0, 2-0, 0-0. They don't score enough goals. But you look at Havertz, he's absolutely crap. He's slow, lethargic, doesn't look interested. He's not very good. And then people start talking about Aubameyang like it's 5 years ago. I mean, I trust Graham Potter enough to know that if he's picking Havertz, that's how bad the rest of the strikers are in training all week. If he's not, or I don't think Graham Potter's that sat there thinking, I want a big payday. I think he wants to be successful. Of course he does. He's a young manager in a job that many people don't think he should have got. He wants to be successful. He's not going to put Havertz up front every week unless he has to. And that's because he's not got a bloody striker. But going back to what I've said, these people saying, sack Potter, sack Potter, sack Potter. Do you actually care about your football club? Do you actually think about what's best for your football club? Because for me, the obvious thing for you to do is you're not getting top four. It will take a miracle to win the Champions League and you're not in any other trophy. Okay, you might finish mid-table, but that's going to be better than finishing seventh and being in the Conference League anyway. Surely, the obvious thing for Chelsea to do is just to get through this season and assess in the summer. And in the next few months, maybe Potter will find a team and a rhythm that he can take into the summer, have a pre-season, get a couple more players and go for it next season. Or maybe he can't do that and you make a change in the summer. But the worst thing I think you can do, and I really don't understand this because we had this with Solskjaer and Mourinho. When you say Solskjaer out and when you say Mourinho out, you sort of do it in a way that they need to go in the summer because then there's a bigger pool of managers that want the job. Or when you start saying it, you've got an idea of who's available. And with Solskjaer, Pochettino was always available. And when Mourinho went, obviously, they ended up giving it to Solskjaer. And actually, to be honest with you, that was probably the worst thing that could have happened to United because we didn't really have a lineup for Mourinho. And then we ended up with an interim who got the job. And then that was 3 years wasted. That would be my warning to Chelsea and any other club, West Ham, anybody else. If you're going to sack your manager, please have somebody lined up because I think there is this thing in football where board owners and they listen to fans and fans start getting hysterical about sack the manager because it's not good enough, and that's absolutely fine. But trust me, if you haven't got somebody back ready to go, you can cost yourself another 3 years. United did that with Solskjaer. Sack Mourinho, and I was one of those people. I said it's time for Mourinho to go, but was there a good alternative in play? And there wasn't. And then you give Solskjaer the job and everyone's going, oh, he's at the wheel. And then that's 3 years gone. No trophies, 3 years wasted. And then, you get Ten Hag and finally it starts to look good. If you sack Potter now, and this is what I'd say to any Chelsea fan who's there, get him out, get him out. Are you actually engaging your brain or are you just angry that your team's not doing well? Because if you're sat there to me saying, Potter leaves tonight and Enrique comes in tomorrow, I'm like, well, look, that makes a lot of sense. Enrique's a better manager than Potter and you're not happy. So, yeah, I can logically get on board with what you want to do. I don't agree with it. I'd give Potter till the end of the season anyway, because I think it's better for an Enrique or a Zidane to come in the summer because then they get a pre-season, they can assess the squad, there's no competitive games. You cannot over-understand how important it is for a manager to have a pre-season. And I'll guarantee you now, Enrique and Zidane have managed Barcelona and Real Madrid. Do you think they're desperate to get back into football and take over Chelsea in February with a shit show of players that Tuchel and Potter were given, a team that's mid-table? I mean, the only thing that can happen is that you can't buy any players until the summer, you can't get rid of any players in the summer. The only thing that can do is cause you damage as a manager to come into that Chelsea job now. If I'm Enrique and I'm Zidane, I'm saying, I might be interested in that job, but ring me at the end of May because I'm not coming in now. I'm not coming in and having 3 or 4 mediocre months of results and then being accused of being not good enough as well, because that's what's going to happen. Potter's only been in the job for 5 months. People have made their mind up about him. I'm not having the job for 3 or 4 months. Sod that. I'll come in the summer, and I tell you what, I want guarantees about this, that, and the other, because I need to look at that squad. But you've got people going, "Oh, sack Potter, Potter out, and give it to Enrique," and I'm like, this is not what's best for your football club. What's best for your football club is you get to the summer and you reassess, because that's when you can get the big managers. Because the worst thing you can do is go, "Oh, I'd rather have Brendan Rodgers than Potter. I'd rather have Pochettino than Potter." And then you give the job to Pochettino. He comes in, he gets you a few good results. You give him a 3-year contract, and that's 3 years gone. Because I'm telling you now, Pochettino, I don't think he's all that. I really don't. But, you get yourself into that category of, well, I think he's better than Potter. And actually, surely what Chelsea are aiming for here is to win Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues again. So you should, if you want to replace the manager, be looking at the top echelon manager who will not take the job in February because of the things I've just said. They'll want to take it in the summer. So I just think, look, it's frustrating as a fan. I had this with Van Gaal. I wanted him gone at Christmas, and he didn't go until the end of the season. And to be fair, Man United got that right. I found it very frustrating as a fan, but it got it right. I said at Christmas, I'd had enough of Van Gaal. And he'd done 2 years by that point. It's not like 5 months of Potter. So there was a reason for me saying, I think Van Gaal needs to go. But ultimately, the club did get that right. They let him have the end of the season. He ended up winning the FA Cup and he got sacked. And then Mourinho came in because Mourinho was ready to take the job in the summer. And at that point, Jose Mourinho was free. He was free from, I think he'd been sacked by Chelsea in the December. So he was free to take the job in January, February, March, April, May. But he didn't take it till the end of the season, because he wouldn't take it till the end of the season because he wanted to start with the pre-season, because it's very important. So whatever you think as a Chelsea manager, as a Chelsea fan, I think you've got to give it till the end of the season, because the big thing is, if you force this manager out, and the board will listen, you could end up with a stopgap manager like a Solskjaer or a Pochettino or someone like that who's a stopgap, and you get stuck with them for years. I think if you are of a mind that Potter needs to go, then you should be looking at trying to get a Zidane or an Enrique, in which case you've got to wait till the summer anyway. So what do you lose? What do you lose by giving Potter a little bit more time? And I've got to defend Potter. I think it's a disgrace, the situation he's been put into. And I think it would be a disgrace to give him £300 million of players and then sack him a month later. But look, we've seen this happen before. Get your comments in below. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'd be interested to know what you think.